Welcome to the Master Your Life podcast. I'm your host, Julie Kelly. I believe in living your most inspired and fulfilled life by knowing exactly who you are, knowing what's important to you, and making no apologies for it. This show is a weekly dose of inspired motivation, personal development, and success strategies designed to create the career, relationships, and lifestyle of your dreams. Imagine waking up every day to your dream life. Well, imagine no more, as each podcast episode is designed to help you live your most authentic life with ease and proven principles that actually get results. I'm the founder of the Master Your Life online course, international motivational speaker, and I'll be sharing real, relevant, tactical advice in this unfiltered transformational podcast. Things are about to get fabulous. Are you ready? Let's go. Hello and welcome to the Master Your Life podcast. It's Julie Kelly here. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're new to the podcast, then please consider subscribing wherever you're listening in from today. And if we've been hanging out for a while, then please consider rating and reviewing the podcast wherever you tune in from every week. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever made a mistake that was so catastrophic and felt so overwhelming that you literally felt paralyzed by it? I unfortunately have been in this situation more times than I'd like to admit, and I in fact put myself into this exact situation just last week when my fiance asked me to do payroll for his business, and I have done it a handful of times before. But last week, I had the biggest brain fart and I completely screwed it up, and I overpaid 3 of his employees, significantly, really significantly, to the point where our employees are fabulous, thank God. They called and they let us know. They were like, we think you made a mistake because we're getting way more money this week than we ever have. And I was like, oh my gosh. But, thank God for their honesty and their integrity. And we do definitely have the best employees in our company. But, this was a major screw up for me. I mean, my fiance had given me this one task and I completely messed it up. So this was a situation that really took a toll on me emotionally and mentally, and I was trying to work out what happened and why did I do this and how could I have done something? How could I have missed something so massive like that? It wasn't even a little dollar amount, it was a big, big dollar amount. And so I was beating myself up all night about it, and even into the next couple of days, I was still I couldn't believe I had done that, and the story just kept on getting bigger and uglier, and I just kept on going down that dark rabbit hole, right? So I wanted to share this podcast episode with you because I learned a lot from it, and this is something that I personally need to keep working on in my own life. We are all a work in progress. I don't care who you are, if you're, Mother Teresa, Tony Robbins, or Warren Buffett. We're all humans. We all make mistakes, and stuff like this is going to happen till the day we die. And so I wanted to take my situation and share with you a process that helps us all overcome making mistakes and helps us to identify why we make mistakes in the first place and how to avoid them moving forward. Now, of course, we can't avoid making mistakes for the rest of our lives because that's not how it works, right? And of course, I can share some important statistics with you as to why that's not going to ever be the case. Statistic number 1, humans make mistakes. Statistic number 2, humans make a lot of mistakes. And statistic number 3, humans will forever make mistakes, right? We know this. But today I want to share with you an idea, a concept, a strategy of how to overcome that icky, guilty, crippling feeling when you do make a mistake, and how to quickly let it go and move on. Because I think that's the key to these sorts of situations and scenarios in our lives, is to acknowledge them, understand what happened, learn the lesson, and let it go and move on. So if you're like me, this is difficult to do, but I think it's something that we need to do for our own sanity, our own peace of mind, and for our own souls, because like I just shared with you, humans are going to forever make mistakes. And unless, you know something that I don't know, that's just how it's always going to be. So I think the first thing to do whenever you do make a mistake, whether it's, catastrophic or small or somewhere in between, is to just acknowledge the fact that you're human, right? No one's perfect. No one gets it right every single time. And shiznit happens, right? I think that's the first thing, is to just acknowledge that. And then the second thing is to think about all the successes, the big wins, the small wins, the accomplishments, the things that you did that went really well, the things that you did that went according to plan, you got the results that you wanted. And think about how much time did you spend celebrating all of those things, all of the positive things in your life, all the successes, all the wins, the big and the small. How much time did you really spend celebrating and acknowledging those? I truly think that most of us acknowledge our wins and then we quickly move on. Unless it's like something major, something that is usually celebrated and acknowledged like on a societal level, like such as graduating or getting married, having a child, getting promoted or getting a new job, buying a house, all those sort of big ticket items of life. Those are the things that as a society we tend to revere and acknowledge and celebrate, but we really don't spend like significant amounts of time celebrating our wins. Yet we spend significant amounts of time focusing and sweating and getting overwhelmed by our problems and our mistakes and our screw-ups, right? We spend so much time obsessing over these things and worrying and trying to work out why things went wrong and, how do we let this happen, and beating ourselves up. And so I want to really address this because there needs to be a reason why we do that. Why do we obsess on our mistakes and the things that didn't go according to plan? Is it because we're guilty? Is it because we live in this idea of being perfect and wanting to strive for perfectionism? Is it expectations you put on yourself? Maybe expectations from your family, your culture, your traditions, maybe your boss, the culture of the work environment that you're in. What is it? There's something that makes us feel this way when we make mistakes. And I really think in order to live our best lives, we need to learn and teach ourselves to let it go. And it begins by asking yourself a very important question when you do make a mistake and when things don't go according to plan. And that question simply is, why did I make this mistake? And really take stock of what happened, what did you do, what was going on for you to make that mistake. Now, let me tell you why it is for me. 99.9% of the time when I make a mistake, whether it's big or small, it's because I'm rushing. I'm rushing through things. I've got somewhere to be. I've got other things to do. I've got other deadlines. My brain is, 10 steps ahead of where I'm actually at. I'm not being present and I'm rushing through things and I make mistakes. That's exactly what happened last week when I was doing payroll. My brain was where I needed to be after I did the payroll and I had to go somewhere else and do something else and I had all these deadlines. And I was there rushing through doing payroll instead of being present and doing payroll and doing it properly and worrying about my next task, my next deadline, where I needed to be once that was over. So what is it for you? Were you distracted when you made a mistake? Were you multitasking and that's not something that you're necessarily good at? Were you not listening or paying attention to something, to some instructions that were given to you? Were you on the phone trying to, have a conversation and do something at the same time? Did you not understand a set of instructions or guidelines that were given to you? So when you make a mistake, stop and ask yourself why. Why did this happen? And I bet if you did really take stock of this and literally stop and take stock of what just happened and why, I bet you will start to see a pattern of behavior that results in undesirable outcomes in your life. Like I said, I know for me, 99.9% of the time is because I'm rushing. I'm sure if you started to become more self-aware of what you're engaging in, what you're doing, the actions and the choices that you're currently engaged in when you're making or when you've made a mistake, you're going to start to see a pattern develop. And, once you know what causes you to make mistakes, then you can alter your behavior moving forward because now you have half the answer, right? Self-awareness is half the battle in all personal development work. If you learn something about yourself, then you have part of the solution, right? That's part of it. It's like 50% of it. So if you know why something's happening, if you know why you do a certain thing a certain way, that's part of the solution. And then the second part is implementing the correct, different action to get the results you want. So once again, let's go back to my example. I need to make sure that when I'm doing an important task, such as payroll, for instance, let's stick with that for now, I need to make sure from now on that I'm not rushing, that I'm present, I'm fully concentrating on that task at hand and not thinking about what are the next 10 things that I need to do in my day. And I can assure you that after that big mistake I made last week, I will probably never repeat that because now I'm self-aware. I know why I messed up. I know why I screwed up the payroll. It's because I was rushing. I wasn't present. So for me, I need to know whenever I'm rushing or when I'm not present to something, it's like a red flag that dings in my mind. And I'm like, oh, I'm doing that again. And I can literally stop myself from creating or going down that same pattern of behavior, creating results I don't want. And because I'm self-aware and I know why I'm doing the things I'm doing and the results are undesirable when I do them that way, I can literally change my behavior like that instantly, right? So you need to be able to do that for yourself as well. And here's the thing. If you want to reach a level of mastery in your life, which of course is what the Master Your Life podcast is all about, you need to honestly assess your actions, your choices, your words, your feelings, and your habits on a daily basis. Really take stock of them. Assess them honestly, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then you need to reverse engineer the character traits that don't serve you and that don't serve those around you. And then start to make a conscious choice to do things differently to be better, right? So it's these concepts that I'm sharing with you. They're simple concepts, but they're not always easy to implement. But if you can start to become more self-aware, really be honest with yourself and not BS yourself and not try and tell yourself what you think you want to hear or what you wish or how you wish you were or how you wish you had behaved or how you wish you had reacted, but truly take stock of what you did, what you said, your habits, your feelings, the words you use, how you speak to people, how you interact with others, and really take stock of that. And then say to yourself, okay, these are the things that I don't like. These are the things that parts of my character that really aren't working for me. They clearly don't work for others. I don't get the results I want. Doesn't feel good. And then reverse engineer them, right? So start to think about, why do I do that? How can I do it differently? And then implement different behavior. Create new habits. Create new dialogue. Eliminate words and responses and reactivity that gets you into hot water, and eliminate it from your world. Just completely do not choose to use those words or engage in those behaviors, and start to implement new intentional action that serves you, that gets you the results that you want, that basically evolves you into the best version of yourself. And the beauty of this is that you can take stock every single day. You can take inventory of yourself. And at the end of the day, you can think about, what did I do that worked well? What felt good? What felt icky? What was out of alignment with who I am at my core? You know, we're all human. Like I said, we're all reactive sometimes. We all make mistakes. We all say things that we regret sometimes. But if you can be honest with yourself and acknowledge that you said or did something that wasn't right, it wasn't good, it wasn't pure, it didn't come from a good place. And acknowledge that you did that. Don't beat yourself up, but just acknowledge that you did that. And then make an internal promise to yourself that you're going to try and do things better tomorrow. And you literally have to think about, how could I have responded better? What could I have done differently? What action could I have taken that would have given me the result that I wanted? What could I have said to that person in the midst of that confrontation that would have ended up having a better, more positive, more productive, calm result rather than where we ended up? What I want you to understand is that every single day you have an opportunity to learn about who you are. You get an opportunity to assess your character. And the best part is that the next day is a completely blank slate for you to rewrite your story, for you to create your character, for you to develop yourself into the person that you really want to be. And that happens every single day. But the first step begins with self-awareness and having that honest, sometimes raw and ugly dialogue with yourself to say, you know what? Yeah, you could have done better here. Or tomorrow you need to go and apologize and you need to step it up, right? These are the conversations I have with myself all the time because I want to strive to become the best version of myself. And everything I share with you on the podcast are things that I have either taught in my group coaching sessions, in my workshops, when I'm speaking on stage to hundreds and thousands of people, and I live them myself. I walk my own talk. I only talk to you about the things that I implement in my own life and that I know work and that I know get results. So like everything else, that I've told you, knowledge without implementation equals nothing. So take what resonated with you from this podcast, digest it in your own way, and start implementing these ideas into your own daily practice, into your own daily routine, so that you can live an elevated, empowered, inspired life where you actually leave an imprint in other people's lives, big or small. It really doesn't matter. I know that if you're listening to this podcast and if you're part of my world, that you are meant for greatness. And you are doing amazing, powerful things in the world. And you're leaving a positive imprint on every single person that you touch, every single person that you come in contact with in your own world, whether it's personal or professional. So I really want you to implement what you need to do every single time you listen to a podcast. My podcast is all about action, intentional action and implementation, because that's what's going to get you the results. Just listening and entertaining yourself, that's all nice and that's all great, but this is not what this is about. This is life mastery. Master your life. This is what it's all about. I want you to master your life so that when you're 100 years old and looking at yourself in the mirror, you say to yourself, you know what, girl? You lived the very best life that you could. You did the very best that you could. You tried hard. You tried to help as many people as you could with your own special, unique gifts and talents. And that's all you could do. And there's no regret in your eyes. And you can leave this world with a smile on your face and peace in your heart. So I want to leave you with that today. And I invite you to follow me on social media. I hang out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And once again, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. Tell your friends about it. Tell your parents. Tell your siblings. Even get your children to listen if they're old enough to understand these concepts. If you've got middle school and high school kids, get them to tune into this. There's no swearing on this podcast. Everything's very PC, very clean. But if kids in middle school and high school can start to learn these life principles at a young age, by the time they're in their 20s and in college and into the workforce, they're going to be so much more evolved and so much more empowered and in a place to really make an impact in their own lives and in the lives of others. So I do encourage you to listen to this podcast with your family and your friends. Like I said, it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe, rate, and review. And all this will be in the show notes. All the links to my social media will be in the show notes. So you just click on the show notes and it's all there ready for you to connect. So I'll make it super easy for you. And I'm sending you much love, many blessings, much strength, much peace. And I thank you once again from the bottom of my heart for being here with me today. And have a fabulous rest of your week and happy Thanksgiving.